Yo, so we back. Just gonna try to finish this up. Dan Millman's The Laws of Spirit. Um, we did the Law of Integrity and Law of Action. This one's the Law of Cycles. Dancing to Nature's Song. The world of nature moves in rhythms, patterns, and cycles. The passing of the seasons, the movement of the stars, the ebb and flow of the tides. The seasons do not push one another, neither do clouds race the winds across the sky. All things happen in their own good time, rising and falling and rising like ocean waves in the circles of time. In every winter's heart lies a quivering spring, and behind the veil of each night waits a smiling dawn. That's by Khalil Gibran. That night in the hut, I had a vivid dream. At least I think it was a dream. I was awakened by the sage's voice. It was already light outside, even though it seemed I had just fallen asleep. I felt no soreness from my earlier fall. In fact, I hardly felt my body at all. The sage said, "Come." I don't remember her lips moving. Then I was standing by the door of the hut, staring out at a bright summer day. The California grass had turned brown and the air was dry and dusty. "Close your eyes," she said. I remember a few moments of total darkness and silence. Then my eyes opened to a cloudy autumn day. An earlier rain must have fallen, for the dust had settled and the dry grass showed traces of green. A cool wind gusted in my face, so I shut my eyes. When I opened them, I felt the crisp chill of winter. The trees that weren't evergreen were bare. Traces of frost lay across fallen leaves. I stepped outside, felt the hard, cold earth, and heard thunder in the distance. In a flash of light, the air changed to spring once again, and I heard the sage's voice. The natural world dances to the music of change, the passing of the seasons, the revolutions of the heavens, and day turning to night. All things happen in their own good time, changing and growing, appearing and disappearing, waxing and waning. The ebb and flow. Whatever rises will fall, and whatever falls shall rise again. This is the law of cycles. When it was morning, I awoke refreshed but decidedly sore after I splashed cold water on my face and ate a few berries. The sage invited me to walk with her to a special place higher in the hills. As we hiked up a rocky trail, I told her about my dream. The seasons have much to teach you, and your dream is a sign that you're ready to understand. Understand what? Understand what? That the winds of change may come as a fierce hurricane, ripping your life asunder, or as a tender breeze that caresses your cheeks. That change is the only constant, and that it happens in its own way, in its own time. I've always had mixed feelings about change. Sometimes, when life feels dull, I wish for it. But when things are going well, difficult change can feel, well, difficult. Change itself isn't difficult, replied the sage. It happens naturally as the sunrise. But most of us seek familiar routines to create a sense of control and order, so change can feel like a blessing or a curse, depending on our desires. The same rain welcomed by the flowers is mourned by picnickers wishing for a sunny day. Right. The law of cycles reminds us that the seasons that the law of cycles reminds us that as the seasons change, so must we. That our old habits don't have to run our lives, that our past doesn't have to become our future, and that the momentum of change ultimately leads us towards greater awareness, wisdom, and peace. Looking back toward her lush garden, the sage added, gardening through the four seasons reveals other lessons of the natural world. Its seeds only reproduce their own kind, that you reap only what you sow, that when you gather the harvest, you need to save some seed for the next planting, that you have to end one cycle in order to begin another, that there is a time for all seeds to grow, change, and eventually die, to be plowed under for a fresh planting. As with seeds and cycles, so go our lives. Enjoying each season of your life, traveler, patiently prepare the soil, sow the seeds, and do the work, and you'll harvest the abundant fruits of your labors. Accept both good fortune and adversity as you accept the shifting seasons. Enjoy the gazing beauty of a winter's day and the sultry days of summer. For soon enough, each season, each day, each moment passes into history, and its exact likeness shall not be seen again. So rather than longing for summer in the midst of winter's chill, or for wishing for cool winds in the dog days of summer, embrace each season for its own gifts. Align yourself with the cycles of time and transformation, riding change as ships ride the waves. You're saying that the cycles of change are going to happen whether I like it or not, so I might as well accept them? That and more, she replied. The law of cycles also reveals how to cooperate fully in your own evolution. Master good timing and find good fortune. How so? All things have a most for favorable and least favorable time, she answered. Doors open and close, energies rise and fall. A thought or action initiated while energy is rising and gaining momentum travels along easily towards completion. But a thought or action initiated in a descending cycle has a reduced impact. That's when the law of cycles blends with the law of action to reveal that patience is the better part of wisdom. Wisdom to know when to act and when to keep still, when to talk and when to be silent, and when to work and when to rest, when to ride the energy of a building cycle or go within and wait for the next rising wave. As we stepped off the trail and headed directly into a thick growth of trees and brush, the sage paused for a moment and told me a story. In the ancient days, King Solomon felt great inner turmoil and craved the return of simpler, more peaceful times. So he decreed that a master jeweler should make him a magical ring inscribed with words that would be true and appropriate at all times and under all conditions. Words that would help to alleviate suffering and provide the bearer with great wisdom and perspective. This master jeweler crafted a special ring, but only after many days of contemplation did he divine the words of power. Finally, the jeweler presented the ring to Solomon. On it were inscribed the words, "And this too shall pass." The terrain changed abruptly as we stepped out of the trees and came to a sunny clearing. I saw an orange tree, heavy with bright oranges that I could smell from where I stood, the several apple trees blossoming but not yet ready to bear fruit, and two other trees I didn't recognize. "They're walnut trees," said the sage, responding to my inner question. Her timing perfect. as usual. Then, bowing respectfully to one of the walnut trees, she pulled a small green fruit from one of the branches and handed it to me. Open it, she said. I don't think it's ready to eat yet. Open it, she repeated. I tried it first with my fingers, then by hitting the green husk between two stones. Finally, I found a sharp stone and tried to chop it open, but with no success. The sage tapped me on the shoulder. I turned to see that she had a handful of ripe walnut shells from last year's harvest, she said. I had them stored nearby. She took a small stone and gave the shell a light tap, and it popped right open. She did the same with more walnuts, and we enjoyed a filling snack. As we nibbled, she explained, I am here to share with you simple truths for making life work better, but I cannot promise you enlightenment. That has its own timing. We humans, you see, are like the walnut shell. If you try to force it open at the wrong time, it's nearly impossible. But once it's ripe, you just tap at the right place and it opens easily. Daily life is your ripening process. And one day someone or something will come along and provide the tap. We sat beneath the shade of the apple trees, eating walnuts and oranges as the sun rose toward the treetops. I leaned back against the apple tree and listened to the sounds of the nearby brook, feeling a kinship with the natural world. The sunrise warmed my bones, soothed me into a restful state of deep calm. I lay back, looked up through the shimmering leaves, and watched the clouds drift overhead. As if on cue, the sage said, Notice how the clouds move more easily with the wind, without haste or resistance. This was an idea I had considered before, but her gentle voice articulating my innermost thoughts touched something deep inside me so that the clouds and the wind penetrated to the center of my awareness. In that moment, nature had become my teacher. The sage finished her instruction about the law of cycles with a story. Many years ago, while traveling in Poland, I visited the humble abode of a renowned rabbi known for his great wisdom. The single room in which he lived was filled with books. Other than that, he had nothing except a single table and a bench. Rabbi, I asked, where's your furniture? Where's yours? He then asked me. Mine, I responded, puzzled, but I'm just passing through. So am I, said the rabbi. So am I. And that is the law of cycles. That's probably one of my favorite chapters to read, and it shines light on that everything will come in cycles, that if it's a cloudy day, the sun will come back, right? Everything, and people have always said that, like fashion, even goes in cycles. There'll be baggy clothes will come back, and then skinny jeans will come back, then like, and it's kind of cyclical in those ways. But it also shines light that even though the sun comes out every day, it's a new day, and it will never quite be the same as it was, even if it's very, very, very similar, So, just a really nice chapter. The next one's the law of surrender, of embracing a higher will. And then I think there's just one more. Let me see. The law of unity. Yeah, the law of surrender. So I think there's only two more. I'm going to do both of those today.